First, preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and I like to prepare my Daniel fast bread into a mix in a Ziploc bag so that when I go to make the bread, it's really easy. I just put all the ingredients that are dry into this bag, as well as the olive oil, and then I mix it around, and then this I can keep in my pantry until I'm ready to prepare the bread. So I've already gone and done this with this bread mix. I'm going to take this and place it into my food processor. Like so. Then I'm going to put the lid on, and I like to add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. You can add any flavoring to this bread mix that you like. You can do dried herbs, garlic powder, onion powder, fresh garlic, fresh onion, any type of seasoning. So I like to do 1 teaspoon of garlic powder for that. Then I'm going to turn on my food processor to mix the garlic into the bread mix. After that's nice and mixed, I'm going to add 1 3/4 cup of filtered water. So I'm going to pour it in while the food processor is processing. Now this is going to form into a dough ball in the food processor, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute, and I'm going to let the dough process in the food processor for 1 minute. This is going to make it so I don't have to knead the bread by hand. Instead, I'm going to let the food processor knead the dough for me. All right? Now our bread or dough has been thoroughly kneaded with the food processor, and here's what it looks like. I like to use the food processor to knead the dough because it helps me not have to clean up a big mess of kneading dough, but also because the blade in the food processor actually chops up the grains of the whole wheat flour, and it makes the bread a little more tender, kind of like a white flour. So now we're going to take this dough and we're going to transfer it to a cutting board and cut it into 6 pieces. Okay, first, before I put the dough on my hands, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil so that the dough doesn't stick to my hands. Then I'm going to remove the dough from the food processor. Take the blade out. Just kind of shape the dough into like a little log. And then we'll cut this into 6 pieces. Let me show you like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 5 and 6. Okay, then we're going to take each ball, or it's not really a ball, I guess it's like a piece of dough. We're going to shape it with our hands a little bit like this, and then we're going to transfer that over to a greased baking sheet. Okay, so here is what the flatbreads look like once I've put them onto my greased baking sheets and spread them out. Next, I'm going to put on the sliced red onions and the garlic, onion, salt. Okay, so if you noticed, I sliced the red onions really thin. I find that it's the best way to add them onto these flatbreads is if you slice them very thin. And then I like to use this onion salt from Trader Joe's. It's got onion and garlic and salt in it, as well as green onions and chives. But you can use any type of seasoning, or you can just bake these without any seasoning. So first I'm going to put on the sliced onions. And I found I really like to add a lot of the onion. Every time I've made this without very much onion on top, I'm always wondering or wishing I had more onions on top. Okay. When these onions cook on the flatbreads, they get really sweet and they taste kind of caramely. And then they also kind of dry out a little bit, and then they kind of taste like dried onion. It's just a really delicious flavor. And then I kind of press them into the dough so that they stick. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It looks, sometimes when it's just a little bit messy, it looks really delicious. Okay, so I got red onion on there. Now I'm going to sprinkle some of the onion, garlic, salt. I like to be kind of liberal with this. Just put it on there real good. Okay, and then I go over once again and just press that on there so that those herbs really stick into the bread. After this, we're going to put these into the preheated oven and we're going to let them bake for about 11 minutes. If you bake them too long, they turn into crackers. So it's almost better to underbake them and then reheat them in a toaster oven throughout the week so that you don't end up with a bunch of crackers at the end of the week. All right, let's put them into the oven. Okay, so now that our oven is preheated to 450 degrees, we're gonna go ahead and place our prepared dough into the oven. We're gonna bake these for 11 minutes. Okay, so the flatbreads are finished cooking. You can kind of hear them sizzling a little bit in there. The ones on the bottom of my oven tend to cook a little bit faster, so I take those out first. Then I check these and see if I want to cook them a little longer. I think I'm going to let these go another minute. Okay, so once I've pulled them out of the oven, I like to transfer them to a cooling rack. Oops. And that helps them not keep cooking on the hot baking sheet. And this is what the finished flatbreads look like after baking in the oven for 11 and 12 minutes. What I have done is I've baked them to be edible, but also not to be too much baked, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat them in my air fryer throughout the week, and that's going to cook them a little longer. So I want to make sure that they don't overcook when I go to reheat them. And after these have cooled, I'm going to cut them in half and then put them into this Pyrex container here and then store them in the refrigerator. I find that I can eat basically about half of one of these per serving, sometimes a full one, just depending on how hungry I am. But this is going to make about 12 servings of bread. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and please let me know if you make this recipe in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe and share this video with anyone you think it might find it helpful. All right, bye.